let's get started. First of all, the great question is, what is Time Machine? So Time Machine is a backup preference or backup software that's built into the Mac OS. It does automatic backups every hour on the hour. Okay, so but before we get into the swing of things in terms of what it can do, let's look at the setup. So I'm going to quickly share my screen with you guys. So to get into the setup of Time Machine, we just do the following. We go to our system preferences, and in our system preferences, we go to Time Machine. Now at the moment, I've got my external drive hooked up here next to me. It's set up for Time Machine. Now guys, before you even take a hard drive and just plug it in and start installing, the one thing you need to keep on consideration is that Time Machine is a possibility that it will wipe your drive. I don't want to go into too much technicality of it. It's better to actually use a new drive for setting up Time Machine. For those who have set up Time Machine already, you guys would know what I'm talking about. But once you have Time Machine set up, then what it will do is in your Time Machine preference, you can go to select disk, and then you can select the disk from here. Now at the moment, you can see that I've got a disk already selected, and I've got an extra disk that's sitting here, right, that I can now also select. Now I can have two backups running or two hard drives, that the one is backing up to the one, and in the next hour it will be backing up to the other. So just to show you guys what happens if you should take an existing drive. Now keep in mind that it will wipe the drive. So I'm going to select this, and I'm going to use that as the option for my backup. Now, as you can see here, I've selected the disk, and it gives me the option to encrypt the backups. And that is very important, right? Because even if somebody can't get hold of your machine, if they get hold of your hard drive and you didn't encrypt it, then they've got access to all of your information. So now if I should click on encrypt and use this, then you will see that it gives me the option to either replace the backup or use both. For now, I'll just go and use both. Okay, so here it will ask me to add in the encryption code. I'll just go 1, 2, 3, 4 and verify 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'll put in the hint, I'll just say numbers for my hint, and then I'll encrypt it. So here we can see that because my the second drive that I've got plugged in my case, I'm just using a quick flash, it's asking me to erase it. Now, the reason for that is for those who want to go into the technicality of things, is because my flash drive is actually in a different format. Okay, now it will now erase the disk to make it now eligible for me to use in Time Machine. So now it's preparing it. Okay, as soon as that is done, we can move on. So now, while it's busy preparing, another quick setting that I want to bring your attention is the following as well, is the fact that we've got this option here that says backup automatically. Now, once we switch that on, then it will back up. It will check the backups every hour. Okay, so you will see here that it takes local snapshots as space permits, daily backups from the past month. And check this out, guys. Oldest backups are deleted when this becomes full. So you will still get a notification that your backup disk is running full. However, it will automatically delete all the oldest backups. So it's ideal to actually have something that is much larger so that you can have more backups in place. Now, Oh, somebody just went into full screen. Let me just switch back to my screen. So now if I, it's busy preparing this. I didn't think that it will take this long, guys, but we can continue on. Now, as you can see that I've got a backup set up already. So now that my backup is set up, I can now start, oh, there's my second backup that's popping up. So now I can start even configuring it even further. So in some cases, I want to maybe not back up certain files. So if I go to my options, I can say that I want to exclude certain files from my backup by just clicking on the plus and say I don't want my downloads to ever go onto my backups. So I can say I want to exclude that, and that will be then excluded from my overall backup, right? And I can also specify that I don't want to back up while on battery power. When I'm on a laptop, normally I just leave that on. I leave it off. And I can also say exclude system files and applications. So those are the options that you have. For now, I'm not going to still exclude this, otherwise it's going to take more time. So I'm just going to click on cancel. So these are the settings that we have at our disposal for our time machine backup. So now I'm all good to go, and I can start using it. Now, first of all, as you can see, I've set this, show time machine in menu bar, which is this little icon here at the top, okay? So now if I click on that icon, it shows me when last I did a backup, right? And it shows me to which device I did the backup to. Now keep in mind, I've set up the second backup as well, but it shows here to which one I've done my backup to, which is my backup drive over there. So now if I click on backup, so if I don't click on backup now, it will do the next backup in the next hour. However, if I want to force the backup to take place, I can just click on backup now. Alternatively, it will take me to the next part of our lesson, which is to be able to restore items from the backup, okay? So now there are two ways I can restore items. I can store individual files, or I can store, or I can restore the entire OS, and I'll show you both of these. Now, first of all, to restore anything from our specific files, I can just click on Enter Time Machine. Now, just to make this example better, what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this IT Pro apps, okay? And I'm going to empty bunch. So this was on my desktop. So now all I do is I can go into my time machine. I'm just going to click on Skip Backup. And I'm going to go into time machine. And now because I was in Finder, it automatically goes straight to the desktop. And now I can go, and let me just make this window slightly bigger. And now I can go and I can retrieve that backup. So this is for today. Let me go in earlier, and you can see on the side, it shows me all of the dates that I've started my backup from. My last backup became a little bit corrupt, so I restarted the entire new backup. So now what I did was, so if I go to earlier on during the day, there I can see there's that IT Pro app. I click on it, right? What's so cool about this is, while I'm in my searching for a specific file, say it was a PDF, I can also use what they call Quick Look, right? So I can press on my space bar, and it will give me a preview of that file that I'm looking for. Okay, so you don't need to still guess, hit and miss. You just press on the space bar, and it will give you a preview of that file, which is called Quick Look. Now, this is the file that I deleted earlier on. So I click on it, and I click on Restore. And now it will bring it back to the current time. And you can see it's now copying it back from my backup into my desktop. So these are the things that we can do straight in Finder. If it was in my documents, so say for instance, I go to my documents folder and let me delete something small. Let me take this AnyDesk. If I now deleted that, because I'm in my documents folder, if I now go and I click on my time machine icon and I click on enter time machine, now you will notice that it stays in the documents folder, right? And I can now go back to a certain point and I can click again on that application or that file, and I can restore it back to the current place where I need it to be. So that is now how we can navigate straight from a Finder point of view. But now it's also linked to, you can also do this within certain applications, guys. Now, one of the major applications that it's pretty useful when it comes to Time Machine is Mail. So if I go to Mail, right, and say for instance, I want to retrieve a certain email, so I'm going to go into, say, my one mailbox here, and it's only got five emails in there, and I click on, again, my Time Machine icon, then it will stay in Time Machine. It won't take us out of it, right? And I'm just waiting for it to all populate. It takes a while for it to populate. But as you can see, oh, there you can see it's starting to populate there at the top. So as soon as it's fully populated, then of course I can click on any deleted email or go into a certain point on my bar, and I can restore that email back into the current space. There's quite a few emails in my mailbox, so I'm not gonna bore you guys to look at while everything is populating. But this is one of the handy features of it as well. Now, the same thing we can do in the following. I'm just gonna get out of my mail. I'm just gonna click on cancel for now. And I can also do this in, say, in certain apps like my one application, like my contacts. Okay, so I'm just going to close down Mail. So in my contacts, if I now deleted a specific contact card, right? And I can also go into my Time Machine, and I can also go into Time Machine and retrieve that contact card. So the same thing I can do with, and I can go into the different times, click on the card and restore it back as I've done with Finder, right? So these are how we can navigate in Time Machine with restoring files, restoring certain emails, or even restoring contacts. Now, the other way we can restore is to restore our entire system. So say for instance, something happens to your computer, you have to book it in for repairs, or for some reason you need to clean the whole computer, or even worse, your computer got stolen, got replaced with your insurance, then you can do the following. Now inside of your Mac, you've got another application called Migration Assistant. Okay. Now, in Migration Assistant, you are able to restore your entire system, right? I'm just going to go into it. The option to restore my entire system by just using the Time Machine backup. Okay, I'm not going to go into it now because otherwise it's going to kick me out of the meeting. Now, that is the demo up to this point, guys, but it's something I quickly wanted to discuss with you because we've got about 5 minutes left. And this is this question here. I get this a lot. Is iCloud a backup system, and can it substitute Time Machine? The answer to that is, even though iCloud is to a certain point, it can be used as a backup, it cannot be substituted with Time Machine, and I'll tell you guys why. As you guys would have noticed, if I go into any position on my Mac, through Finder, my documents, my downloads, or so on, and I click on my Time Machine, right? I can go beyond 30 days, which iCloud only allows to keep files. So I can go way beyond that. So if I had my backup for years and for months, depending on the size of my hard drive, I would still have all those old files. Whereas with iCloud again, if I deleted any file, I could go into my browser, go to www.icloud.com and enter my Apple ID and my password, and then I can restore those files. So if I'm now in my iCloud, I can go into my account settings, and in my account settings, I can go to the bottom and restore those files, given if I had my iCloud set up on my machine or my iCloud drive. But keep this in mind, this only gives me 30-day period of deleting those files. If I deleted those files and it's beyond the 30 days, it's gone. Whereas your Time Machine, you can still go beyond that point, okay? Another thing you must keep in mind is that iCloud only keeps the recent version of a particular file. So if I go to iCloud Drive and Finder, and I move a document in there, yes, it will store it in iCloud, but say if I wanted to go to the previous version, I won't be able to do that. Whereas if I go into my Time Machine backup again, I can go to previous weeks, previous days, up to even previous months of making changes to that file, and I can restore the older version. So guys, keep that in mind, that iCloud is not a substitute for Time Machine. Use Time Machine even if you've got iCloud Drive set up on your computer. And finally, yeah, always keep your files up to date and backed up as usual. Anyway, so that is my demo, as well as how we can work with our Time Machine and our iCloud Drive at the same time. Any questions?
Yeah, I've got a question, Angelo. If I've already got my Time Machine working and it's already backing up, but I never encrypted that backup originally. When I go in there, it's grayed out for me to encrypt the disk now. I don't want to wipe it out at this point. Can you retroactively encrypt stuff or not?
You have to recreate a new backup all over again, Amanda. It doesn't, because once the backup is done, it does it 256-bit encryption to make it, to put it in layman's term, it encrypts on the higher level of your backup, right? So you can't encrypt it afterwards, so you have to then recreate the backup all over again.
Okay.
Can I add to that, Angelo?
Sure.
One other thing, guys, that Ange didn't mention is that if you do a Time Machine backup, but you don't encrypt your drive, none of your passwords are saved. So if you do a restore from a full backup, like Angela was saying with the migration assistant, you'll have to enter in all your passwords one at a time. So if you want to restore a full version of your machine with all of your passwords that might be set for your web browsers, your websites, and so on, encryption is also a pretty important part of that. Kobus?
Kobus?
Sorry, Kobus, can you unmute yourself, please?
Sorry, Angelo, thanks. This is my first session of the series that I have entered for. Just on the, if I have an external hard drive, external drive, which I want to use as a backup, but I've got other data from a PC on that. What you're telling me now is if I use that as the time machine backup, it'll wipe out all the other stuff that I have on it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's why I didn't want to make it too technical in terms of which format the drive must be in. The easiest way to do this, Kobus, is rather just get a new drive,
okay,
and use that as a time machine backup. What I encourage my clients to do as a old PC drive is, if there are sensitive information on that PC drive, you know, and you want to also include it with your time machine backup, then rather drag it into your computer and then run the backup.
got it.
That will ensure that it will actually back up with your time machine backup, yeah.
Okay.
And as they say, guys, there's no such thing as having too many backups.
May I add one more thing as well about that, Ange, if you don't mind?
Yes. Sure.
Do any of you have more than one computer at home and run a network? Okay, so this is one option that you can do, and it's a little technical to get into as part of this session, but you can make a folder. If you turn on file sharing on your Mac, you can create a folder which becomes a time machine destination, and that won't override the entire hard drive. So if that's something that you're interested in, then talk to us individually, and we can either do it with you individually, arrange a technician to do it. This is one other way that you can do a backup over a network as opposed to a hard drive.
Can I ask a question, please?
Go for it.
It's a very simple thing, but I've not actually done this before. You showed us that we could get backups that were from the previous day or 30 days or 40. How do you actually see that? I couldn't quite follow that when you shared your screen, how one actually sees that.
I'll show it again. I'll show it again quickly. So, so say for instance, I go into the backup, right? So I'm going to go to my menu item at the top, which I've enabled.
No, that I got. Yeah, into time machine.
Okay, so first of all, the first thing you need to do is, where was these files placed, right? That's the first question. So say for instance, you know it was in your documents folder. So I would first go to my documents folder, right?
And, okay, got that.
So now I know, okay, right, it was here, it's not there anymore. So then what I'll do is I will go then into my time machine icon, right? And then I'll click on into time machine.
Yeah.
And then just wait for it. So now I'm in my time machine, and you will see on the left-hand side, it gives you the dates from when the time machine started to right through to all of the months and weeks and so on.
It doesn't give the date. It doesn't give the dates.
I can't see that at all.
No, exactly, no dates.
Well, this is actually just a short backup, but can you see where it says today or yesterday?
And so on.
No.
Can you not see that on your screen?
We can't see that.
No.
Oh, there, yes, there.
Where?
Oh, yeah, got it.
Where?
Yeah.
There. Can you see it there? On my
I
right
see.
side.
On the right-hand side, up and down. Oh, yeah.
So
And if you
see,
go back over years, you'll see March, April,
so if
May,
I go
and so
through,
on, going back in time.
Got it.
You see, my backup is of recent because my old drive packed up and I started it on a new drive yesterday.
Yeah.
So now as the time goes on, you will see that it will start showing you all the different dates. The one thing I always encourage my clients to do is rather get a big drive that you can actually have a backup that's going to run over years, you see, or as a longer time. And guys, if you do get that error that pops up that says your backup is about to run full, you can just ignore it. It will automatically delete the oldest backup on your
But
drive.
in fact, it does give you a choice. So if your hard drive is filling up and it's got to, you will get a message that says the hard drive is full. Would you like to either allow me to delete older files, or would you like me to add a new drive? And then you just take the old drive, put it in for storage, and then it'll carry on with the new drive. And just a little bit further than that, I mean, Anne showed you that you could have more than one drive attached. Now, there's two reasons why you might want to do that. Number one, a backup can fail. It's just a piece of machinery which can fail like anything else. But there are other scenarios. For example, you might want to have a backup at home and a backup at the office and a backup somewhere else. And every time you go to that new location, it'll just start to use the appropriate drive. So you're kind of covered, not just necessarily from mechanical failure, but you're saved from somebody stealing. You know, if they break into your house, if somebody breaks into your house and you've got 4 backups that you rotate and they take all of your drives, it doesn't matter how many copies you've got, you've lost them all. And there is a rule with backup. It's called the 3-2-1 rule. If you don't have 3 copies, it's not a backup. That's the 3. The 2 is that they should be on different mediums. So one might be a physical hard drive, the other could be a USB stick, depending if you've got a small amount of backup, or one could be on the cloud somewhere on the network. And the 1 in the 3-2-1 rule is one should always be offsite. Because, you know, fires and flood and pestilence and plague. Sorry, Ange, over to you.
Kobus.
Angelo, quick one. On the backup, the time machine onto an external drive, does it only back up what you have on your hard drive in your iMac or your MacBook Air, or does it back up your
to
Google
me,
Drive?
it's 27 minutes past.
Sorry, I've just muted.
Somebody with it. Like, there we go. Okay, Kobus, after you.
Sorry, does it back up everything, your Google Drive, your Dropbox as well?
Yes, sir. Are you still seeing my screen?
Yes.
Okay, let me just show you something quickly. So keep in mind, your backup will back up even hard drives that is attached to your computer, right? So if I go to my time machine backup at the top and I click on, let me go to my preferences the long way so you guys can see where it is. So if I go to my system preferences, to my time machine preference, you will notice here at the bottom is an options button, right? And if I click on that options button, you will see that there are certain things that is excluded from my backup drive, right? If I don't exclude certain things, it will back those things up as well.
Okay.
So if I do say, my downloads folder, I consider as let me put it this way, as a temporary storage folder. So I don't actually need that on my backup. So then I can just click on the plus and say, look, I just wait for it. I want to exclude that folder there, you know. Other than that, your Google Drive, your Dropbox, everything else that's on your computer will also be included in that backup.
Thanks.
Cool.
Can I ask a question?
Go, Clint, go for it.
Hello. Is it necessary to keep your hard drive plugged in constantly? I'm afraid I'm a bit random about when I plug in my backup hard drive. Is it better to keep it plugged in all the time?
Well, you don't need to. I recommend it to have it plugged in because there's one thing as human beings tend to forget is we tend to do a backup and we tend to not save files, you know. If you are not like us other human beings who tend to forget that, then you can unplug your drive, and whenever you feel like you want to do a backup, you can just plug it back in and just go to this the icon at the top and just say backup now, you know, and then you force it to do a backup, because one thing a lot of my clients do is they tend to say, look, I don't want to do an automatic backup, and I only want to back up now, but then they tend to forget about doing the backup, you know, then somebody like me will come along and we will discover that you haven't done a backup in the past 6 months.
Horror. Yeah, absolutely.
You know? Like
All
I
right.
said,
Okay. It doesn't make any difference in terms of what you actually back up if you do it that way, as opposed to keeping it there all the time.
It doesn't make a difference about what you back up, because those are the rules that you set in the options, but it does make a difference to the frequency with which your stuff is backed up.
yes.
You know, I have a personal experience of this. My wife's computer was stolen. And this is one of the benefits of having a network backup, is that every time if you're backing up to the network, every time you open the lid of your laptop and it connects to the network, if it hasn't backed up, it will back up. So you don't even have to worry about the physical connection on a computer. But we had a break-in, her laptop was stolen, and she was working quite late that night. I think she was working till about 10, 11. And it was stolen. There's nothing we could do with it. So we bought a new one with the insurance money, went to the migration assistant as part of the setup, and we restored her machine to exactly the state that it was at when it was stolen, because it was backing up every hour on the hour, even though it was asleep. So, you know, it's like insurance. You hope you never use it, but when you need it, it's probably, you want it to be the best experience you possibly can have. So my recommendation always is to have a network backup if you can, if you have a second Mac, or if you have an old airport time capsule. Those are wonderful devices for backing up to, because we are lazy and we say, every night I'm going to plug it in. And we don't. We forget because the kids want supper or there's this thing on TV.
Indeed. I'm going to back my machine up straight away. Thank you. Thank you.
Sure.
Any
other questions, folks?
Yes, Angela, just, sorry, Cobus, go for it.
Go for it, Brian.
Okay, a quick one. I have a iMac. I have a MacBook Air. Each of them has different information. Can that all go onto one time machine?
Yes.
Yes, sir, they can. Yes. What Time Machine does is, in the back end, it actually saves all of the information under the name of the computer.
Okay.
So your iMac will of course have a different name to the name of your laptop. So that's perfectly okay. What's so awesome about it is that your Time Machine is pretty smart. So if you plug it into your laptop, you can restore files from the laptop. It's not going to confuse it with an iMac. And even if it comes to Migration Assistant, it will give you the option to choose whichever machine you want to do a total restore from.
Thank you.
It's very intuitive, Cobus.
Is this where you need a network though?
Not necessarily, no. I mean, you can take the same drive, plug it in from the one machine, and then if you finish with a backup, you can plug it into the next machine. You have got that option as well. So it's.
So, Ange, would it be right to say then, if you actually set up a machine as a time machine destination, a hard drive as a time machine destination, then you can take it from machine to machine to machine?
Yes.
It's only when it's never been used before that it formats it the first time.
Yeah.
So I don't think you have to worry about then unplugging it and putting in another machine, and it'll go, oh, do you want me to use it as a time machine backup, and wipes it. Once it's been set up as a time machine destination, then it doesn't matter.
It won't do it again, yeah. Sorry, Brian,
Okay.
you were asking. Oh, sorry, Wendy, you wanted to ask another question?
Sorry, I've got a time capsule, and I have a laptop, and my time capsule is full. It says on my laptop, but I think it is still backing up my desktop.
Yes.
So how do I get around that so that it backs up both of them?
Well, look, I mean, like we mentioned earlier on, Wendy, that it will actually, beg your pardon, it will actually back up both machines, and as soon as your time capsule gets full, it will delete the older backups.
Okay.
The one thing that you need to keep your eye on, is my screen still shared with you guys?
Yes. No.
Okay.
No, it's not.
No. Okay. The one thing you gotta keep in mind is that I always tell my clients, always check out at the top when the last backup was done, right? You see where it says encrypting backup disk, okay? I'm just gonna check my drive so that it can stop that process. It will normally show you the time and date or the last when the last backup was done. Especially for people who are working on a time capsule and working on multiple machines, I always tell my clients, check out when the last backup was done. If it, like here on my one now, it says today at 2:01. So that one was the last backup. But if your backup goes back days, weeks, months, then there's a problem. Then I would say rather get one of our techies in, you know.
Mark, I think Mark wanted to contribute something. Mark, do you have something to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to raise a point. Is obviously time capsules are end of life now, which is very sad. But they did come in various sizes when they were released. And what you've got to be careful of, Angelo mentioned, it's very good to have a nice big drive to back up to, which is great. But if your combined hard drive sizes of your machines were bigger than the time capsule you're backing up to, you'll have a problem because it can't physically fit all the data there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think I've also seen situations where the amount of data that has to back up is bigger than the amount of free space. Sometimes Time Machine will choke. It'll say, I actually haven't got enough space to deal with getting rid of the older stuff and putting the newer stuff on, which may be why your iMac is backing up, but your laptop isn't.
Yeah.
Also, Wendy, you've got a USB port in a time capsule, which you can also use to extend your storage. You can also plug in an external hard drive to that to run the backup to another external through your time capsule. That was one of the huge benefits of having a time capsule.
Okay.
But if you want to do that, you can just get one of our techies or speak to myself if you want to. We can arrange something.
I'll do that. Thank you.
Sure. Sorry, Brian, you wanted to ask a question. Sorry, sir.
Thanks, Angela. No problem. I think it's more a housekeeping question. I heard you say that you exclude the download because you consider that to be a temporary folder. So I'm understanding that when we download something, we should shift it off into a more permanent folder and not keep it just as another folder on the drive.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of temporary because you can always re-download it. I mean,
yeah, that's the thing. Look, guys, this is just one of the principles that I do, you know, because I download such a lot of stuff onto the laptop, you know, onto my machine. And whatever I want to keep, I just drag to my documents on my desktop to upload to iCloud. And at the same time, I've got it backed up onto my local drive through Time Machine. My other clients, they say, look, I'm lazy. I don't want to look at a backup. I just want to switch on and go. I'm all for that.
Okay.
As long as you've got the safety net in place.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, guys, all of the best to you.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us again.
Thank you once again, and cheers.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
Have a good day off tomorrow. We look forward to seeing you on Wednesday.
Indeed.
Likewise.
Okay. Thanks. Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.